Imagine spending your entire life searching for imperfections. Not the obvious failures everyone notices, but the tiny details hidden beneath the surface. A vibration too small to feel, a sound too quiet to hear, or a weakness everyone else is willing to ignore. Most people would call that obsession. Henry Royce called it responsibility. Long before Rolls-Royce became a symbol of royalty, wealth, and engineering excellence, there was a forgotten boy walking through the cold streets of London carrying newspapers instead of school books. He was not chasing wealth or fame. He was simply trying to survive another day and believe that tomorrow could be better. Henry Royce was born in 1863 in the small village of Alwalton, England, as the youngest of 5 children. His family lived a modest but stable life through his father's flour mill, but that security disappeared when the business failed. Forced to leave their home, the Royce family moved to London searching for a new beginning. Instead, they entered a city where survival was a daily battle. Then, when Henry was only 9 years old, tragedy struck again. His father died, leaving the family without financial protection. Childhood ended before he was ready. The boy who should have been learning in school was forced to work on the streets. But the struggles that could have destroyed him slowly shaped the qualities that would define his future: discipline, determination, and an unwillingness to accept anything less than his best. Before Henry Royce ever built a legendary machine, he first had to build himself. Henry Royce's first education did not happen inside a classroom. It happened on the streets of London, where survival became his greatest teacher. As a young boy, he sold newspapers at railway stations and took whatever small jobs he could find to help his family. Those difficult years taught him lessons that would stay with him forever. Hard work mattered, resources could not be wasted, and even small mistakes could have serious consequences. His life began changing when his aunt noticed something unusual about him. Henry was not only hardworking, he was deeply curious about machines and how they worked. With her support, he began an engineering apprenticeship at the Great Northern Railway Works in Peterborough. For the first time, Henry stepped into a world of powerful steam locomotives, precision tools, and skilled craftsmen. While many apprentices focused only on following instructions, Henry wanted to understand the reasons behind every decision. He studied why materials failed, why measurements mattered, and why the smallest imperfection could affect an entire machine. The workshop taught him a lesson that would shape his entire career. Engineering was not about making something look impressive. It was about making something reliable. Although his apprenticeship ended when the money supporting him ran out, Henry left with something more valuable than formal education. He had discovered a way of thinking, that every machine could be improved. Every failure could teach a lesson, and perfection was achieved by refusing to ignore the smallest details. After leaving the railway works, Henry Royce refused to let poverty decide his future. Without formal education or financial support, he created his own path by learning through experience. During the day, he worked with machines and electrical systems, while at night he studied mathematics, engineering, and physics. Slowly, he moved beyond simply repairing problems and began understanding the reasons behind them. His talent and dedication earned him respect in electrical engineering companies, where difficult challenges often found their way to him. But when the company he worked for collapsed, Henry once again faced uncertainty. Instead of searching for another employer, he made a bold decision. He would build something of his own. The challenge was enormous. When Henry counted everything he had, his savings amounted to only around £20. It was hardly enough to survive, let alone create an engineering company. But Henry had spent his entire life overcoming impossible situations. He partnered with Ernest Claremont, a fellow engineer who believed in his abilities and helped provide the support needed to start a small workshop in Manchester. Their first products were simple electrical devices, including doorbells, motors, and industrial equipment. They were not glamorous inventions, but they carried something customers quickly recognized: reliability. Royce products worked better, lasted longer, and reflected the care behind every detail. The company's reputation grew through satisfied customers rather than advertising. Inside that small Manchester workshop, Henry Royce created the principle that would define his entire legacy. If your name is attached to something, it should represent the best you can possibly make. By the early 1900s, Henry Royce had built a successful engineering business, known for reliable electrical equipment. But years of hard work had taken a toll on his health. A doctor advised him to slow down, spend more time outdoors, and buy a motorcar to make traveling easier. Henry followed the advice and purchased a well-regarded imported automobile, expecting a better way to travel. Instead, the machine disappointed him almost immediately. The engine was noisy, the ride was uncomfortable, and the car suffered from problems that most owners simply accepted as normal for early automobiles. Henry could not ignore those flaws. While others saw those issues as unavoidable, he saw them as engineering failures waiting to be solved. He brought the automobile into his workshop and began taking it apart piece by piece. Every gear, bolt, and component was examined carefully. He was not just repairing a broken machine. He was investigating why it was imperfect. The deeper he looked, the more convinced he became that the automobile itself was not the problem. The real problem was the way it had been designed and built. At a time when many manufacturers focused on producing cars quickly, Henry believed every part deserved attention and every weakness had a solution. Every vibration had a cause. Every failure had a reason. Standing among the scattered pieces of that automobile, Henry made a decision that would change the future of transportation. He would not spend his life improving other people's machines. He would build one that matched his own standards. Henry Royce had built an extraordinary automobile, but almost nobody outside Manchester knew what he had created. At the same time, in London, Charles Stuart Rolls was searching for something he could not find. Rolls was already famous as a racing driver, automobile pioneer, and successful car dealer. But he wanted Britain to produce a truly exceptional automobile of its own. He believed the country that had transformed engineering should not depend on foreign manufacturers for the world's finest cars. The two men were brought together through Henry Edmunds, who had driven one of Royce's handmade automobiles, and immediately recognized its potential. He believed Rolls needed to meet the engineer behind it. On May 4th, 1904, Henry Royce and Charles Rolls sat down together at Manchester's Midland Hotel. Their backgrounds could not have been more different. Rolls was born into wealth and privilege, while Royce had spent his life overcoming poverty through determination and hard work. Yet they shared the same obsession, creating something better than anything that existed before. After their meeting, Royce showed Rolls his automobile. Rolls examined every detail before taking it for a drive. Within minutes behind the wheel, he understood that this was not an ordinary machine. It was smoother, quieter, and more refined than any car he had experienced. Rolls had found the engineer he was searching for, and Royce had found someone who could introduce his vision to the world. Their partnership combined Royce's engineering excellence with Rolls' influence and ambition. Together, they created a name that would become legendary: Rolls-Royce. The partnership between Henry Royce and Charles Rolls brought together two extraordinary strengths. Royce focused on creating engineering perfection, while Rolls introduced their automobiles to customers around the world. Their early cars quickly gained attention because they offered something rare at the time: smooth performance, quiet operation, and unmatched reliability. But success did not change Henry Royce's mindset. He still believed every machine could be improved. This belief led to the creation of the 40/50 horsepower model, an automobile that would later become famous as the Silver Ghost. At a time when many cars were noisy, unreliable machines that required constant repairs, the Silver Ghost felt almost impossible. Its engine ran with remarkable smoothness, and its ability to travel long distances without failure amazed everyone who experienced it. To prove the car's quality, Rolls-Royce put it through extreme endurance tests, covering thousands of miles under demanding conditions. The results shocked the public and impressed journalists. One description became permanently connected with the company: the best car in the world. Soon, kings, business leaders, and governments wanted a Rolls-Royce. The small workshop philosophy Henry Royce had developed years earlier had become a global standard of excellence. But behind the luxury and fame was the same belief that guided him from the beginning: never ignore details, never accept average work, and never stop improving. To the world, Rolls-Royce represented luxury. To Henry Royce, it represented engineering done properly. Success brought Rolls-Royce worldwide recognition, but Henry Royce continued working with the same dedication that had defined his entire life. He personally reviewed designs, searched for improvements, and demanded that every new creation be better than the one before it. However, his pursuit of perfection came with a heavy price. Years of endless work, pressure, and little rest slowly damaged his health. Then the company faced its greatest personal tragedy. Charles Rolls had developed a passion for aviation and became one of Britain's earliest licensed pilots. In 1910, he achieved a historic milestone by completing a non-stop return flight across the English Channel. But only weeks later, during a flying demonstration, his aircraft failed, and Rolls was killed at just 32 years old. Henry lost not only his business partner, but also his closest friend. Many believed Rolls-Royce would struggle without him, but the foundation they had created was stronger than anyone expected. When the First World War began in 1914, the company faced a new challenge. The world no longer needed luxury automobiles. It needed powerful and reliable aircraft engines. Henry Royce accepted the challenge and applied the same philosophy that had built his cars. Every component had to be precise, because even the smallest failure could have deadly consequences. This dedication eventually led to legendary aircraft engines, including the Merlin engine, which powered aircraft such as the Spitfire and Mustang. The company that began by creating luxury automobiles had become a symbol of engineering excellence far beyond the road. The scale had changed, but Henry Royce's belief remained the same. Every detail mattered. Henry Royce never cared about fame. He preferred workshops over applause and engineering over recognition. Even after illness forced him away from the factory, he refused to stop working. Engineers carried drawings and technical reports to his bedside, where he examined every detail, corrected every flaw, and demanded improvements. Henry Royce never truly enjoyed the automobiles that carried his name. While the world admired Rolls-Royce as the finest automobile ever built, he spent his final years perfecting it instead of enjoying it. The greatest machine he created became a symbol of luxury for kings, presidents, and business leaders. Yet he remained devoted to only one thing: making it better. He believed that if something could be improved, it should be. When Henry Royce died in 1933, he left behind far more than a famous company. He left behind a standard. Decades passed, technology changed, and ownership changed, but one expectation never disappeared. The name Rolls-Royce still meant perfection. That reputation was never built by advertising. It was built by one engineer who refused to accept good enough. Henry Royce proved that true greatness comes from never stopping the search for something better.